You know what, Mahima? I was thinking that we need to talk about the inner child because right now it's either being romanticized or completely dismissed.
Yeah, it's either candles and affirmations or people saying, can we stop blaming childhood for everything?
Exactly right. I think the truth is somewhere in between.
Yeah, it's much less aesthetic and way more neurological.
Yeah, that's true. I think less fairy lights this time and more nervous system wiring.
Exactly. So today we are not doing the Instagram version. We are unpacking what inner child actually means in psychology and why it still runs some adult reactions. I am Mahima.
I am Muskan, and welcome back to We Are Not Fine. And today we're going to talk about inner child, what really inner child is, and how does it still impact our adulthood as well.
Exactly. So, Muskan, if someone says to you that my inner child is triggered, what are they actually describing?
Okay. Um, Inner child, I don't think is not really about, coloring books and bubble baths, which
Hmm.
used to be a childhood thing.
Yeah.
In psychology, it actually refers to emotional memory of our early experiences, right?
Hmm.
So, like, especially unmet needs, wounds, fears, longings from childhood that still live inside us. So, it's the
Yeah.
part of you that, feels small during conflict, maybe craves reassurance,
Hmm.
probably panics when someone withdraws or still wants to be chosen. So, it's not childish as per se, but it's your younger nervous system still trying to survive in your adulthood. I think
Ex
it's that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like a tiny ghost inside of you because I've heard a lot of people say that, they went to therapy and they did inner child healing. And the way they describe it
Hmm.
is like, my therapist told me to go talk to that small child that is still within me, kind of a thing. So it's not it's not like a tiny child ghost inside of you. And it's more about the fact that it's a part of your nervous system which got shaped in childhood and has now stayed that way. One of my mentors actually described it really well. I remember when she was teaching us IFS, she said that because parts work and inner child work goes really well together.
Hmm.
So she was describing it, and she said it's about having such an intense event occur in your childhood that your nervous system sort of gets frozen in that place. So, say for instance, you encountered heavy shame at the age of like 6, right? So that
Hmm.
part of you that experienced shame, like a very intense emotion at the age of 6, will get frozen at age 6. So now when you experience it as like a 28-year-old, you will go back to feeling like a 6-year-old who experienced it the first time around. So then that's why it becomes
That's
so
true.
difficult to deal with it. So it's basically your nervous system freezing in time, uh, given the first event that the age that it occurred at.
Yeah. With this, I have this question that, where do you think inner child actually really originated from?
So there is a lot of, I mean, it's not what I think about it, it's like the facts behind it, right? So
Hmm.
early, obviously, it developed in early psychology with the Carl Jung, right? Where he talked about childlike emotional parts living in the unconscious. And he talked about attachment
Hmm.
and research and all of that, right? Basically, how early relationships shape and wire us throughout our adult um, life. Hence, whenever we talk about attachment, also, right, we always say it starts with
Yeah,
your caregivers, right? Because so many of us, the way we behave in our adult relationships is based on the fact of about how we were raised, right? So it all does go back
true.
to your childhood. So,
And after Carl Jung, even Sigmund Freud highlighted this, that
yeah.
how childhood shapes your adult personality.
Hmm.
I think even Eric Born, in one of his theories, has formalized how child ego state in transactional analysis. That's also there.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
again in IFS, I think gave it more depth to the inner child thing.
Yeah, because he was able to divide it basically into parts, right? It just becomes a little easier to
Yeah.
understand what exactly is going on, as opposed to making like a mixture of everything. Now we have like specific
Hmm.
categories, so we can like break down
After that,
one at a time.
social media made it cute.
Ah, man, it's crazy, right? How social media sort of everything is rosy, right? On social media, everything gets like a very, I don't want to say romanticized tint, but it gets like a very light version of everything, right? Everything seems so like movie like almost, and the depth
It
and
is
the reality of it
romanticized
just
though. That is
goes away.
correct term.
Yeah,
It
but
does.
yeah, it does. It does. It's like everything becomes, very characterized, right? It's not reality anymore. It's scripted basically, and just takes away from the actuality of it. But let's try and make it
Yeah.
practical so that everyone can
Hmm.
understand it, right? So what would you say does the inner child activation look like? Like how does it show up in people?
I think it shows up everywhere, almost in every aspect of your life. If something of that sort has already happened in your childhood. So, you overthink a delayed text, then maybe it's an abandonment wound.
Yeah,
If you shut down during conflict, you maybe learned
yeah,
that survival in your childhood. If you cling too tightly
yeah,
to somebody or something, then
yeah.
maybe there's fear of losing love. Um, you people please. Oh my God, people pleasing,
Oh.
old strategy to stay safe, right?
Yeah,
So, and I
yeah,
think it shows up much more strongly in romantic relationships,
it
especially your
does.
partner, when your partner does not, meet your adult self, they meet your 5-year-old who once felt
Yeah,
unseen. So I think
yeah.
that's attachment playing out in real time at that time.
Yeah, exactly, right? So the text thing that you said, so all of a sudden it's like it's not a delayed text, but it's like your world is
Mm.
ending kind of a feeling that, comes about, which is really difficult to understand and navigate also. So I think it shows up in terms of, overreacting or overthinking or sometimes even over apologizing, right? Or just shutting down completely. I think that also happens for a lot of people where they just don't know what to do
Yeah,
anymore.
that's their survival mode.
Right.
What they've learned in childhood is what they do even now.
Even now, what would you say is yours? How do you react in difficult situations?
Hmm. I usually shut down.
Hmm.
I do. And I think I've learned it from my own family members. Like I saw them shutting down when I
Yeah.
was a little girl, and I'm sure that I would have questioned it that, why are they not saying it openly that they've been hurt or they're feeling this way?
Yeah.
But since I learned it, even now when I want to speak up, it's
Hmm.
difficult. I might do it in therapy, but
Hmm.
not openly in front of everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think for me, it becomes overthinking and being overly anxious. I think everyone in my family is just overly anxious and just overthinks. And whenever anybody asks them what's wrong, we just say, no, no, we are all fine. So it's about, just spiraling on your own and never sharing anything with anyone. That's what I've learned, and that's what I keep doing even now, even though I know that these things are not supposed to be done. But yeah, yeah.
It takes time to break those patterns, and people don't really understand that, since it's something that you've learned in your childhood. If
Mm.
you're what, 25, 26, or even 30 years old now,
Yeah,
it took you so much time to learn that, okay, and now you've been practicing that. Now to
yeah,
break that pattern
yeah,
and learn a healthy pattern, that's going to be tough. But then
right.
everybody wants a quick heal at that time, and we think that I should be better by now, but it's not that. अगर वो 23 years लगे हैं वो habit बनने में,
Yeah,
तो अभी give it at least some time to break that pattern.
exactly, exactly. And I think what a lot of people, a lot of people give us, right? What we fail to realize most of the time is how intense the feeling is, right? And when we do encounter it, because we're talking about inner child work, again, we have to, state the fact that when you do encounter a new situation, which is, say, sort of triggering anything emotional in you, it's not like you're dealing with it as a 25-year-old or a 30-year-old, right? You are dealing with it as it occurred the first
Yeah.
time. तो घंटा आपके पास resources हैं to be able to deal with it. Imagine a 6-year-old being told कि this person doesn't love you anymore, and all of a sudden you're going through a breakup. Like you can't logically get out of that, right? You're like, this person is just leaving me forever and ever, and you can't. I mean, tell a 6-year-old now that you don't want to stay with them anymore. How do you think they will process it? They'll be like, what is happening right now? Why is this person not listening? I mean, what is going on, right? So it just
Hmm.
becomes that much more difficult. There is no logic left, I think. You just, you enter like a survival mode kind of a thing, right? Because when we're kids, everything is just about
Exactly. Yeah.
survival, right? And our
Survival.
dependency on everyone around us. So yeah, it gets big like that. So fight, flight, yeah, freeze,
Hmm.
huh?
True.
True. And
Okay.
what
Coming to our next question then.
next question क्या है?
Um, why are inner child reactions so intense though? I understand that they are coming from your childhood,
Hmm.
but why do you think
Yeah.
they're so intense? What's happening in your nervous system at that time?
As we said, right, it's because your flight, fright, or freeze like getting triggered, right? So that is obviously making it intense. I think another thing that could be happening is that whatever you are facing right now isn't just this event, right? It is piling up on everything that has happened before. So, say for instance, you felt abandoned at 6, then you felt abandoned at 10, then you felt abandoned at 14, like your friends didn't want to hang out with you anymore. Then at 15, then 18, your first heartbreak, and then at 22, your second heartbreak, and now all of a sudden you're like 25, 28, 30, whatever, and it's happening again. So it's not like
Yeah.
this is the first time that it's happening, right? It's going to pile up on all those years as well. And the way you deal
Yeah,
with it is the first incident. And now it's like the 6-year-old is not dealing with what happened at 6, but it's dealing with everything that happened afterwards also. So imagine all that
afterwards also.
pressure on that child, right? So it becomes intense because it's a piling up of a lot of events together, right? Instead of just the one thing that you're dealing with. I think that's why it becomes so intense. What do you think?
Same, same. I feel like it's the even though we understand that, something similar happened in your childhood, but then that it created a wound, right? And that wound is still open.
Yeah.
Nobody closed that wound. So if it's still open, your nervous
Mm.
system, when something similar happens, your nervous system is going to think that, oh, this is the similar
Yeah,
thing that has
similar thing.
happened. So it
Yeah,
brings you, goes back to the same feeling that you had even in your childhood.
yeah, yeah.
And that does not feel good.
It absolutely does not. But why do you think in those moments, people try to tell you to calm down? And it obviously telling someone to calm down never works, right? But you usually hear people say, calm down, calm down.
Yeah, because it's not like you're overreacting at that time. It used to feel
Exactly.
that way a couple years
Yeah,
back when I
yeah,
was not aware of all of these things. But then
yeah,
we understood this through our work that that your nervous system
yeah.
is reacting to an old template of danger.
Exactly.
It,
So I
it's
think
it's exactly the same template. It's just that it happened at that time as well, and it's happening now.
now again, yeah. But see, that's the thing, right? If there's a second person with you here, right? Who's maybe watching you go through this, right? So for them, it's like कि इतनी सी तो बात हुई है because it's just the current incident, right? And they're like, why is this person overreacting right now? They don't know that it started 20 years back, and whatever
Yeah,
happened right now has sent you back like 20 years. So obviously, it's going to be that much more intense. So the people who are just there, sort of observing you, are like, calm down, calm down. But that's like the worst thing to ever say to anyone.
it does
Uh,
not. It never
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah, that actually never
Only
helps. I
I
think
wish
people
if
should
it did.
stop saying it.
We, I mean, I think to put it in a better way, I think it's the memory, but
Hmm.
of whatever happened back then, but it is felt as present right now.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is true.
So, guys, just a small request that do not say that,
Huh.
it's okay, it's going to pass, or, you're fine, nothing has really happened. No, talk to them.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing, right? I think we judge too quickly and we
Hmm.
end up making it about things. But then tell me about this. This is as regular people, right? We judge things too quickly and we're like, don't overreact or don't say that. But as therapists, do you think we sometimes judge too quickly in the sense that whatever our client is telling us, we immediately say, childhood mein hoga. Have you done that with your clients? Because sometimes we also have to stop ourselves and be like, hey, don't go to the childhood thing. Because sometimes it's
Mm.
not connected.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure that it happens. I don't remember. the last incident when this would have happened, but
Yeah, yeah.
100% it would have.
It would have, no? Because I
It
remember
was,
initially in my practice, like when I started, and because we had learned this, right? And it just seems so easy, the answer कि जो भी तुम में अभी गलत है must have come from your childhood, right? That's like the easiest answer out there, right? So my brain used to immediately jump to कि ask them about their childhood. But now I've obviously grown out of that, and I don't do that anymore until it seems like a good enough reason or
yeah,
backing behind it to actually do that. But yeah, as therapists also we should like stop ourselves before jumping to कि childhood का बताओ everyone else.
it usually comes from them only now.
Yeah,
Naturally, it comes
yeah,
from them. They will tell
yeah,
you that this is something that happened
yeah.
back then as well.
Yeah, but it's better for them to reach it, right? As opposed to you saying, कि, "अरे वो
Yeah.
child का child," because that just, in my head as a young therapist, it was always the easiest answers. I was like, let's go there quickly so we can, quickly figure it out, kind of a thing. But sometimes I think, we have reactions that are actually only based on our present, so it has nothing to do with the childhood and very little to do
Mhm.
also. So it's better to let them get there naturally and on their own.
True.
What do you think are subtle signs that your client is maybe showing, or somebody showing that it's their wounded inner child that's talking as opposed to the adult? Like, how do you notice it in your client?
Hmm. Okay, I'll give you examples for these,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
this question. Okay.
yeah.
So I remember someone saying that, said this to their partner that you don't care about me, when the real issue is a small miscommunication,
Mm,
all or nothing thinking,
mm-hmm.
or maybe the urgency to fix, text, call, prove.
Mm,
This, oh my God,
mm.
I've dealt with this one. Um, Bad experience. But yeah, um, maybe feeling rejected very
Mm,
quickly,
yeah,
wanting reassurance, but being scared to ask.
yeah.
I think most of us we've been there.
Oh, yeah, we have
So
been
it
there.
often feels big. These things, even though
Yeah.
when I'm saying it, it feels small. In
Mm-hmm.
our head, it's a really big thing, right? It feels like
It
it's
is, yeah.
big, it's immediate, and feels very desperate.
Yeah.
So your regulated adult self feels slower,
Mm-hmm.
clearer, grounded.
Yeah.
I think that's, giving them this distinction, I think helps. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think the above examples that I gave you, that all or nothing thinking, where is it really coming from?
Mm.
The urgency to fix, text, call, prove, feeling rejected very quickly.
Very
I think all
quickly.
of these examples seems like, that these are the signs that will help you figure out that, maybe it's related to childhood. But yeah,
Yeah. True. That's true.
I definitely think that it's the I am really sorry. I got a call. उसके वजह से
It's
I got
okay. Just
distracted.
continue. Just continue. Continue.
Okay. So yeah, what was I even saying? I lost
You were
track
talking
of it.
about how to notice signs in your clients that whatever it is that they are expressing might actually have something to do with their childhood. So you were saying that the fact that their reactions seem a bit heavy, the fact that it seems like they're not able to deal with it as adults, overreacting, say on text, very black and white
Hmm.
thinking, and all of that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is how we can make them reach to understanding themselves that maybe it's their inner child, something happened in their inner child. As
Hmm.
you said before, that it's better that they arrive at that conclusion that something
Hmm.
similar happened in their childhood. If
Hmm.
you point it out for them, then of course, I mean, it's okay sometimes since they are not able to get to it. But if
Yeah.
they arrive it themselves, oh my God, you will see such a huge reaction on their face because
Yeah.
that there's this realization that okay,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
you have answers for all of your patterns now, where they are coming from.
Exactly. And since you said that now, the look on the face kind of a thing, I remember this particular incident. Remember, there was one class we were having, and one of the girls was talking about, she was describing something in her life. She was like, giving out an example, and the teacher just asked her that, who does it resemble, your mom or your dad? And the look on her face when she figured out who it was, in between her parents who this person
Oh
was.
yeah.
And the way she was shocked and the way everybody else was like, whoa, so it finally clicked for her. She used to think, why am I like this? Why am I like this? Why am I like this? Was the spiral that she was going through. And the professor just asked one question. She was like, who did you hear this first from, your mom or your dad? And she was like, oh. And we were all like, whoa. And it just clicked for her. And I think she cried as soon as she
Hmm.
figured out, you remember this, right? And she cried as
I
soon as
do, I do.
yeah. And she was like, oh my God. And it just clicked for her. But yeah, I think that's the thing, right? As therapists, the best thing we can do is just ask the right question, obviously, and
Hmm.
just make
Yeah.
sure that they reach that place themselves, right? And the thing is, I think what makes it easier for us as therapists to probably realize that, this might be something that is stemming from childhood is when they describe it as patterns repeating again and again and again. Like it's not a one-off incident, right? For instance, if a client
Hmm.
comes in and says that I keep attracting partners that are like unavailable, then you know that this is not a one-off incident, right? It's happening again and again and again. So if a pattern is forming, then there must be roots to it, right? And because we already know that
Hmm.
attachment patterns are usually in childhood, given your caregiver and the relation you had there, so it then becomes a bit clearer. Or how they feel like this extreme, any emotion that goes to an extreme, right? Like extreme shame or chasing extreme perfectionism or just feeling like a complete list black and white that you said, right? Like feeling like
Yeah.
all or nothing wala jo feeling hai. And that usually is a good indication of, it's coming from a place where they did not know the difference between right and wrong, and they were more likely
True.
told this thing that they have now decided to sort of implement into their life blindly. That's why it's like showing up. So I think, yeah, that's a very, very good way to look at it. Very dramatic,
Mm.
yeah, reactions, basically, So that probably is,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good way to
They
look
are
at it.
usually dramatic only because it's an old wound and you're
Exactly,
coming
right?
back to it again.
Exactly. It's like this incident that is happening right now, that doesn't warrant this type of a reaction, right? So what
Hmm.
exactly is happening? And they also realize it because I've had clients sit in therapy and say, कि, I don't know where this reaction comes from, क्योंकि इतनी बड़ी बात नहीं थी. But all of a sudden it felt like it was the end of the world, right? And that's why it becomes so difficult for the people who are with them also, like their friends, their partners, their family, whatever. When they're seeing this reaction, everybody else around them who's like observing is also like, why are you overreacting, right? And then they
Hmm.
themselves also can't explain it because they don't know where it's coming from. But then, yeah, as we unpack the whole thing, I think it usually leads to that.
Yeah.
ये वो तो है.
But good realization sometimes because then you figure out your patterns.
You do figure out your patterns. But a lot of people say that, when we, especially clients, they have this thing, or actually not clients, like regular people we talk to, and when we say, you're a therapist and all of that, they usually say, ki, so you just want to blame your parents for everything because you have to blame your childhood for everything. And I'm like, how would you deal with that? Because that, if we talk about inner child healing, right, then we're basically saying that something that happened in your childhood, right? Fair enough. So then it's like a lot of dash people who always end up saying, oh, you just want to blame your parents for everything. So, but how do we explain it to them that this is not about them? It is just a thing that has happened and we have to deal with it.
Exactly what you said. I would tell them this only that it's not about the parents. Now, I mean, it is a little about the parents as well, to some extent, if they were the ones who, showed those kind of patterns and they inherited kya, matlab, learned all of these
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Uh, but it's not like we're blaming them for doing that.
Exactly. There's a
It,
difference between,
y-
calling a spade and blaming a spade for being a spade, right? We're not doing that. We're just saying कि कुछ चीजें थी जो सही नहीं थी and we just have to now deal with it. That's all we're saying, right?
yeah, it's not like we're blaming them. We are just figuring out that, where did it actually come from? So if it came from parents, at least you get to know that, this is where it
Mhm.
came from, and this is how you developed this pattern. And now you'll learn how to break those patterns and learn healthy ones. It's as
Right.
simple as that. It's not like I have never heard this in therapy by my own therapist, or I've never said this that your parents are to be blamed for this, or
Yeah, yeah,
your parents only. No, nobody says that.
exactly. But there's a lot of people think that we do say that, especially parents who bring their child to therapy. Because I've had a few of those, and they're like, "Is she just
Hmm.
going to end up blaming me for this?" Probably, but probably not also, right? It's not like just because your child is, especially a young child who's like 14, 15, saying, "Oh, my parents this, my parents that." It doesn't make it right? It's not like it's completely factual also, right? There's a lot of emotions attached. So it's not like just because we hear it from them, we will automatically start judging the parents, right? We never, as a therapist now, I'm saying this, it's not about placing blame on anyone, right? We understand that a lot of parents only want good for their child, right? And they're actually
Hmm.
doing the best in their situation. It's not like they were taught all of this, right? They're also living life for the first time. They're also figuring it out. And they're also just
Yes.
trying to do
This is
their best,
important.
right? So you can't
Yeah.
blame them for everything, is what I'm saying, right? Sometimes, yes, explicitly as adults, if they knew better and still did something to harm the kid explicitly, then yes, they need to be called out for that, right? And probably be blamed for it also. But not regular parenting. I don't think we blame parents for that. And parents, if anybody listens as a parent, you should know this, that we're not blaming you guys in therapy at all and saying things. Yeah.
Yeah. Not at all. We know that if you knew better, you would have done that.
You
That's all
would
you
have.
knew, so you did that.
Exactly,
True.
exactly. Oh God. Yeah. I hope parents listen and feel thoda sa chill and thoda sa calm about this.
Seen and heard,
Yeah, they should, right? They
all
should. I
of
think
those things.
parents already have a lot of pressure to do right, right? I know of so many parents who are like
Be better parents.
always worried about being better. This also is a performance thing, now. They're like, "Ki, I should be better as
Yeah.
a parent," kind of a thing, right? And you see other parents being better, so you're like, "I have to do this and I have to do that," and all kind of things. But you guys are doing the best you can, I suppose, right? So take thoda sa chill and relax a little, I suppose.
The fact that you're thinking that you want to be the kind of parent that your child needs or
Yeah,
wants, that's
yeah.
enough. You know that you will do good only.
Exactly. Because half the people don't even stop to think that, right? So this already is a win.
True.
The fact that you're stopping and thinking at least once, ki, "Arey, should I not? Maybe this, maybe that." That's a win. That's a straight win. That's a top class parent, if I can, sort of say that. They
Exactly.
really are. Yeah. Tell me, do you think therapy or inner child work can be done alone, or does it require a therapist?
I think yes, sometimes. I'm not 100% sure though. I think
Mm-hmm.
self-work can help if you have insight,
Mm-hmm.
if you feel emotionally stable, if you can regulate yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or if your trauma is mild or situational.
Mm.
Now, that's
Yeah.
all of these points are very subjective. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but I think maybe they can. But I think therapy becomes more important when it comes to inner child because reactions will feel overwhelming, patterns repeat despite awareness,
Yeah.
and there's less developmental or even relational trauma.
Yeah.
So, and with all of this, shame is too heavy to explore alone.
Alone. That's true. That's true. And it's like, most of this trauma or triggers that you have are actually relational wounds, right? So to heal them also, you would require a good relational partnership to heal. So it's
True,
like, if it's a
true.
relational
This is
wound,
why.
it will require
Hmm.
relational repair. Yeah.
True. And I think when you figure out these things in a relationship,
Hmm.
co-regulation is very important then.
Yeah. Yeah. True. That is true. That's why, this thing, na, a lot of things we see where people meet like a really good partner and their entire overall life quality changes because they've met a person who understands their
Yeah.
wound, can help self-regulate, and can sort of
Hmm.
balance each other out, and it's all of a sudden like their nervous system is just calmer, and then they start glowing and becoming more happy and all of that also. So it's like a good, or when you have a good bunch of friends, right? You know how we hang out with friends and all of a sudden you feel so cool and so refreshed and you feel so
Yeah.
healthy, and you're like, I'm gonna kick life's right? So yeah, that. So a good healing partnerships are just great. And whenever I say partnerships, I don't mean romantic only. Okay? Please keep your friends closest, and have a good gang of people and just have fun in life and chill. Okay? Anybody who helps you feel calm is a good thing to have. Even pets also have. So yeah,
I think
basically
it's
relational
very
healing.
underrated. People don't really talk about co-regulation that often. I mean, everybody wants to heal by themselves, be
Huh.
isolated, but that's not how it works.
That's true, no, but you only said it, right? The shame of it is so high that, you don't want to
Yeah.
tell anyone,
Yeah.
keep please this and that. That's why a lot of people, come to therapy, and even in front of their therapist, they find it so hard to open up because they're like, what will she or he think of me if I say all of this? Like, that's the place where
Hmm.
it's absolutely no judgment, but wahan pe also you feel. And I think this is not just for people who are going to therapy as like, just regular people. I think I have also felt it. There are some things that, before telling my therapist, I'm like, what is she going to think? That, oh, what am I thinking, or how am I thinking this, or why am I thinking something like this, right? So before telling my therapist, I'm always like, should I not? Is she going to judge me? Is she going to be like, this, how can she be so stupid, kind of a thing, right? So I think shame is really high, right? So it becomes a little
Yeah.
questionable there.
I
And
myself used to feel a couple of
yeah,
years back that,
yeah,
dismissed the whole ideology of co-regulation and healing with people. I completely dismissed it. I used to think that it's my thing. I have to deal with it and I need to heal from it. But
yeah,
once I
yeah.
met you guys, that's when I realized that no, this can also heal me. This can
Yeah,
help me in my healing journey. As I told you in
exactly, right?
previous
Mm,
uh, podcasts, that
yeah.
how I learned so many boundaries from y'all.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing, right? Relational healing is very, very important because anything that you find similar, right, can always help, right? So it's you once you realize that this experience or this trauma or this shame is not just, just yours and not something that you are explicitly dealing with, that, people have gone through similar instances. It takes like a heavy burden off of you also, because a lot of times we
Mhm.
question as to, say for instance, it's an inner child abandonment issue, right, where you're feeling that you're so unlikable that even your parents didn't like you or treat you well, right? So why will anybody else, right? Imagine that's what you're
Mhm.
going through now. How heavy is that to sit with? But then you realize that even other people might have felt that sometimes, right? Because parents are, again, not, sometimes you don't have all the tools with you, right? So maybe some other child also went through it. So it's not like you were the only most unlikable kid in the world.
Yeah.
Possible that somebody else also has abandonment issues, from their childhood. So then it just becomes a little easier for you to deal with it. And now the shame just gets a little lesser because you're like, I'm not the most unlikable. I think everybody has gone through this. So it's quite common. I think just
Mhm.
knowing that things are common make it a little easier for you to accept that, this happened to you also. So it's kind of fine, right? I think when we feel
True.
like we are special in our trauma, I think that also adds a lot of burden to it, right? Because then we start
Mhm.
self-blaming a lot. So yeah.
Self-blaming a lot. True.
Yeah, because when you feel like you're the only one this has happened to, right? Then you will self-blame because you're like, why did it happen to just me? Kind of a thing, right? So then you start blaming yourself more and more. Mm. Eh,
True, true,
weird, huh?
very true.
Human mind.
But since we
Yeah.
oh, but since we've talked so much about how our inner child is when our inner child is not or has dealt with a lot of hurt,
Mm.
rather, I would say that, when
Yeah.
our we've talked a lot about how our inner child,
Yeah.
whenever it is hurt, it
Mm.
acts up in our adulthood. What do you think a healthy and integrated inner childhood child looks like?
Mm. I think it would show up less if, if that makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
because if you're an adult, you are supposed to be in situations and reacting in situations and processing situations as your adult self, right? So I think it would show up less, and there would be less times where you have to uh, sort of address it also. I think that would be a good way to look at a healthy inner child, right? That it would just not send you back every time you panic, kind of a thing, right? So I think a healthy inner child would mean that it won't mean that you don't get triggered or you don't sometimes regress, but it would just mean that the incidents that it happens get lesser, right?
Hmm.
The frequency of it will get less, and the recovery that you will have will get faster, right? So say for instance,
Yeah.
if inner child gets triggered, you will know, okay, you know what, this is the inner child thing. So you can just go have a quick chat and come back, kind of a thing, right? Is to put it in the simplest sense, right? And it will be okay also. So yeah, it will show up less, the inner child, and you will be able to deal with it better, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it's the similar answer from me as well. Um, your it's not like that your inner child is completely disappeared. It's just
Mm.
that
Yeah.
your inner child trusts you and wants you to lead the path ahead. So I think
Sure.
maybe ending it with that.
Yeah. A lot of trust in you to be able to like do it, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the inner child really just shows up when it thinks that you are can't protect yourself right now, right? Because you're not aware of what is happening. So the inner child usually
Hmm.
comes in seeing that, you know what, wait, I know the situation. I've seen it before. Let me lead and let me help you, kind of a thing, right? So it always wants to sort of take charge of whatever it is you're going through. But that's the thing. A child is not supposed to be leading you as an adult, right? So that's where it comes back in. And that's where you realize that, you know, as an adult, you're supposed to be doing this. So I think when your inner child lets you lead, that's when you know that you are starting to heal it and it's sort of giving you control of life and trusting you to take charge and go ahead and deal with life, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Okay. So if we had to,
And with this, I think, huh, no, no,
so
go ahead.
with, no, with this we are ending. So I just wanted to ask you that if we had to leave people with one thing today, what would your closing line be?
Huh. If people are wondering that,
Mhm.
how to figure out that, something that's hurting them right now is
Mhm.
actually something that happened in their childhood,
Yeah.
I think you need a lot of self-awareness for that. So I'm just leaving you with this thing that,
Yeah.
maybe the first thing would be self-awareness, a lot of awareness, then regulate, and then how to deal with it. I think regulation, emotional regulation,
Mhm.
and then experiencing a new experience. I
Yeah.
think that is how this cycle would be like. So,
Mm. Yeah.
notice the trigger, pause, regulate your body, respond from your adult self, and then repeat that pattern. If you do not repeat that pattern and if you do something similar after doing the right thing again, you will go back again to the inner child.
Yeah.
So it's very
That's true.
important that you repeat the new experience that you're learning as an adult at that time.
Mhm.
So, emotional security isn't a personality trait. It is practiced and it is developed safely.
Mm.
So I think that I would want people to go with this if you're wondering that, how to figure these things out.
Yeah.
But then again, if you do this under uh, a professional therapist who can
Yeah.
help you understand this, that would be great because then the complexities of it would be much more better
Yeah.
understood by all.
Yeah. Yeah. True. That's true. We can just, say that if you do it under supervised care, then it would be faster. It would be more safer also, right? Yeah, that would be it. My closing would be maybe to just know that your inner child is not something to run away from or to avoid, right? Because I think the fact that the inner child exists so strongly in you is actually a sign of the fact that it was avoided a lot when it shouldn't have been, right? So maybe you shouldn't treat it the same way others have treated it in the past, right? And just realize that the reactions you're having are not that dramatic, actually. And maybe recognize the intention behind the child showing up, right? They're just trying to be protective. Okay. So once you start understanding that and sort of react with a lot of compassion towards the inner child, it will start to trust you. And then obviously you won't have to react so
Mhm.
dramatically or so overreact to certain things. And then it'll be easier to deal with stuff. And I think, mm, Yeah, that's that's about it. I think once you sort of fix this relationship with your inner child, I think a lot of us start to allow a lot of joy also into our lives. So I think that's a good
So
thing
true.
because it's so difficult, right, to allow joy into our lives when you are constantly dealing with the inner child that's confused and just wants you to be safe. So yeah, that.
I think you've said it, you've ended it very beautifully. I loved what you said. Makes
So
my inner child happy.
yeah, yeah, I think that would make sense, right? Just to let it be, sort of, and not
Yeah,
try to shame it or scare it further the way other people have done in the past. Like just to at least you be compassionate towards your inner child. That's I think that's the only step, and that's the first step that we need to make it easier.
yeah, true.
ठीक है.
I
Oh,
think with
maybe
this,
this only, right?
mhm,
That maybe the reason we are not fine is because we have some inner child work still left to be done.
yeah.
Yeah.
And guys, when you meet us
Mm.
again, we still won't be fine.
Because we have not done the work.
The process is going on.
Work in progress. Work in
Yeah.
progress. Chalo.
All right, then. We'll see you guys in our next
In a
episode. Bye.
bye. Bye bye.